Hi, my name is Allie. I'm 54 years old and I'm a financial professional.
Hi, I'm Susan. I'm 62 and I'm an executive director of a nonprofit in the health and wellness space.
Hi, my name is Cecilia. I'm 45 years old and I work in the insurance industry.
Oh,
Hi.
hi.
How are you ladies?
Really good. How are you?
Gorgeous. So for me, in 2005, when my ex-husband Mark walked in the door from a trip, I was actually at the top of a small staircase in the house, all dressed sexy, waiting to, except I didn't get that. I think I'm done. Like, what do you mean done? Like, honey, no, I'm done. I don't want to be married anymore. I'm like, absolutely like caught off guard. Not that inside deep. Years ago, I'm like, I don't think this is right. And I remember my dad's voice in my head saying, don't marry him. And here the girls are 7 and 11, and they were in bed. All of a sudden, Madison, 11, came running down the stairs, grabbed the hose from the sink, turned it full speed, and freaking hosed us, screaming, I'm gonna ruin my life. Like flipped the F out.
Wow.
And that was my 11-year-old's first reaction. My 7-year-old was super quiet, and that was her MO anyway. Staying a little bit more cerebral and away from everything, not causing any, letting it all be, and kind of introverted. So it wasn't really a surprise deep down. I knew the marriage wasn't great. I didn't really at that point have the courage or the bravery a few years back to really say, I need to leave this marriage. And I'll never forget the next day, I broke down in the shower before anyone woke up, before the girls got up. And I dried myself off and I looked in the mirror and I said, listen, you got a 7 and 11-year-old, they're girls, they're females, they have to see you, they're gonna emulate you, they're gonna watch your every move. How can you do this as natural, but feel your feelings as possible and show some strength? And I pretty much talked to myself every day with that mantra and just said, okay, here's what we're gonna do. No one's angry, no one's fault. The communication for me was key. I immediately called, I have life coaches and programs and books and whatever. I didn't really go to therapy, but I went to a few people that I trusted to say, walk me through this. That day forward was all about making sure that my girls knew that life would go on joyously and lovingly as possible, with their life not changing so much, but having open communication. A little tough with the 7-year-old, it's young, but you do the best you can. There's no right or wrong, in my opinion. Everybody handles things differently. Their kids are, all of our kids are different individuals. And
Sure.
to know them and to know how to communicate with them and to have them come to you and be able to be real, right? And honest and not bash what's going on. Make them, and I really feel like the reason to this date, 2023, that I'm best friends with my ex-husband is because I really looked within and said, I'm not gonna be this woman. I'm not going to waste money, I'm not going to fight. And as a matter of fact, coming from where I come from as a child, I don't need to take 50% of everything he has. I'm going to make this work super from scratch, right? Because I believe women, as much as possible, always need to reinvent themselves, not just because they're getting divorced on many levels. So I feel like it was a reinvention mode. And to this day, I thank him. It's the best thing he ever did for the girls and I, actually.
Wow.
So that's obviously a brief. So that was.
But what an incredible way to look at it, like from a point of gratitude that you can say that.
Now,
Yeah.
the struggle was real. The empowerment, leaving a career, keeping the girls in school, not moving, downsizing the house, and, the life changed, but simpler, like where they didn't feel it so much as I thought. But, when they grow older, they knew every single thing going on. They're so smart.
Susan, wow. That is incredible that you could walk away from that with that kind of strength and gratitude for your situation. I really, really admire that.
Thank
It's
you.
incredible. For me, in my situation, it was completely different. I had a very wonderful romantic relationship with my ex. I mean, passionate, happy, great couple. We were living in New York City, having the best time. And then we had kids. And for some people, they can have a great romantic relationship when you're young and happy. And you never really think, like, how are you going to co-parent together? What does that look like, right? So we were young and happy and had these two beautiful girls. But we didn't meld into family life well for many, many, many reasons. Well, I'm not going to get into every reason today, but basically at the end of the day, you know, that happy romantic relationship just sort of changed drastically once we became a family. And we tried a lot of things. We went to therapy, and he actually stopped going to therapy. I continued. And we did get divorced. We had actually even agreed to move to Scottsdale, Arizona, which ironically has the highest divorce rate in the country. Because a lot of people, you know, wherever you go, there you are. So a lot of people go there thinking, you know, maybe
Things could change.
Yeah, things can change. But that's not really the answer, as we all know now, right? So we moved to Scottsdale, and you know, within a year, it was the same old story. And I kind of made a decision. My kids were 2 and 3, or they were gonna be 17 and 18, or 18 and 19. Either I was gonna get divorced now, or I was gonna get divorced when they were grown up. And I actually went to a behavior specialist and asked their opinion, and I got divorced. And
What year? When was it? When they were 2 and 3?
gosh, it was, I want to say they were 2 and 3. I can't really
Okay.
do the math right now. But they were 2 and 3. My favorite memory, actually, of when I started feeling excited about it was, you know, so here I am living in Scottsdale. I don't know anyone. I've moved across the country. And I found this cute apartment. Like you, though, I can say that I wasn't like, oh my God, woe is me, and how am I gonna, you know, I wanna extract money from him. I was like, I just wanna like move forward and live my life. So the first time I was excited about it, I remember going shopping for the girls and decorating their room. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Like, I get to decide what I want. Because my husband was very like, you know, he knew what he wanted. And I got to, you know, decorate their room and make it all fun. And it was just like, oh my God, for the first time in my life, I'm really living on my own. And I felt empowered, and I got to really enjoy my girls and have a fresh start. And it was, you know, while it was difficult, it was also kind of empowering, to your point earlier, and fun. He was not very involved in their lives when they were younger. So he would maybe like come by and take them for ice cream or that sort of thing. But we didn't have the traditional like, okay, I'm gonna go, like, it wasn't a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
So home was with me. So that in some ways made it easy.
Yeah.
You know, I know for a lot of people that can be a struggle. For me personally, it worked out pretty well. We had joint custody.
Yeah.
But we didn't wind up actually keeping it that way. So for me, I actually couldn't have been happier in this small 2-bedroom apartment, which may sound strange to a lot of people, but it was really exciting. And also for me at the time, I wanted to live within my means. I was doing wellness coaching, and I had a secondary degree in nutrition, so I was able to help people on their weight loss journey. So that was fun and great, but it wasn't going to sustain
it wasn't whole lifestyle.
So there was some concern, but that's why I was living in a small, very affordable 2-bedroom. And I'll never forget, my mother came to visit, and she cried.
Oh.
She cried because she just couldn't believe where I was living. She was so besides herself. I was like, Mom, I'm happy. Like, it's fine.
I mean, I can totally understand actually where you're coming from, because in my case, my daughter was actually 3 months old, so it's kind of close to your kid's age.
Baby.
Yeah, she's literally a baby. So she was 3 months old when I said, I'm done. I'm filing a divorce. I was 30 years old at the time. So I thought, you know, I'm old enough, I can do this, I got this. Thankfully, I had a decent job. However, like you said, I had a house. The house was on my name. I didn't care about my ex-husband's money, but I wanted full custody, full physical custody. I didn't care about
Wow.
anything else. Take whatever you want, but my daughter's staying with me because at the time my concern is like her, not safety. He's a good person, but it's more of, I always see the kids should not be moving places. Just the way I grew up, kids should have a stable home, the way I understand. So the dad can come over whenever, but the kids should be at one place, especially at that age. She doesn't know any difference, to be honest. She probably don't even remember anything. But you mentioned something about, challenges with finances, coming from a house, downsizing to a 2-bedroom apartment. I was driving a luxury car and downsized to economical car. And one time I was dropping my daughter to a daycare preschool program. This little boy was asking me, "What happened to your car? I love your car." And this boy who's like probably 3 years old, 4 years old, he saw me driving from a smaller car and he loved my cars and it broke my heart, like you said, as your mom, and this little boy recognizing that, we like nice things, right? But I'm just like, my focus is, want to make sure that I can manage this financially because I didn't care about getting any money from my ex-husband.
Right.
Just basically relying on my income. So yeah, she was 3 months old, did it all by myself. My ex-husband comes and goes whenever he wants to at the time, to a point, I think after 5 years of making him kind of be present, my daughter got tired of it herself. Like, I don't care to see him anyway, so.
How old's your daughter now?
She's 15. Okay. So I've been raising her on my own for the last 15 years.
How lucky are we that we started out with careers? There's so many single moms that were left or left them that were stay-at-home moms.
Yeah.
They're like, we had a little bit of a
leg up.
Yeah,
honestly,
from a lot of people I talk to, like when they don't work, they are really oblivious to a lot of things.
No, because that's what I was thinking too. I was 30 years old when that happened.
I was also 30 years old, so that's what, like, I remember being like exactly that.
We know
I
what
just
we're
turned 30.
doing, we understand what we're doing, but it's still hard. It's very hard. And like you said, I can't think about other people who's young, who's financially challenged even more than, no jobs. I don't know how they...
I can speak to that for a second, though. Because while I had this wellness career, I had to start over. I mean, I wasn't making money, and while my ex-husband was paying me at the time, that was going to be for a very brief period of time. And I thought, okay, well, what am I going to do now? So I remember I had to go on classified ads. I found an ad one day that said ad sales. And I was like, oh, when I first got out of college, I had a job at Gray Advertising. Maybe I could do that. Yep. Yeah, because like I didn't know what to do.
So I took about a year till I was really fresh and feeling mentally and physically healthy enough to throw myself out there. But of course, the first thing I did before I threw myself out to the dating world was what most everybody does, is I had a boob job. I mean, 40 pounds lighter, breastfed 2 kids, hello. So we did the boob. And I'll never forget this because I was laying around in bed, it was Halloween time. And one of my girlfriends said, come on, we're gonna go, I'll drive, because I couldn't like raise my arms high or and we're going to a Halloween party. I'm like, okay. And there was this like cowboy, big private pilot amongst one of the many friends. And I don't know, one thing led to another, and we kind of hooked up at the Halloween party and actually started dating him for a couple years. He was a little younger, it was kind of fun, and I felt really good about myself, and I thought, okay. But I have to be honest, so it was my first dating out there, but I kept it extremely private, and the girls at the time were now maybe 8 and 12, and they had no idea. I didn't want them to have any idea. Who knows, it's not about them right now, but nothing changed. I just made sure that when it was the right time and I didn't have that, I was out, right? So After about a year, though, I'm like, I'm just going to let the girls know I have a new friend, and I made it super gentle. And he had a couple of kids, younger than mine. That was a big fail. And I thought, okay, did it? No good, doesn't need to happen. And it didn't need to happen. I didn't really do any more intervening with his kids or my kids. I really actually only dated him another year. And then for me, crossing over 6 months prior to that, I became very close with one of my daughter, Madison, the older one's best friend, whose single dad raised her. And he was like in and out driving my kids. We would speak on text, speak on the phone, never met the man. Months and months, never met the man, never met. And one day I hosted a homecoming at my house, and I finally got to meet this man who was taking my kid everywhere and then some and dropping up. And we fell madly in love. So I had to dump the pilot very gently. He was, but I was the first time I really felt this was so right. This is my forever. I can't do this to this nice guy. It was very easy. And the funny thing is, because Madison already knew him.
Yeah.
Right? So there was a comfort zone. Now Madison's almost 14. And Taylor's like 9 now. And actually, for me and my experience, I was very blessed. The integration of this man and my girls was an immediate love affair and a closeness and a natural friendship and love. And he was very much a paternal figure in their life. So with my girls integrating with him, amazingly so, the girls stopped being friends.
Aww.
So his daughter wasn't taking to it anymore. She's like, oh, no. I'm going to have nothing of it. And sadly, I moved out and I let them stay together, him and his daughter, and thought this was the healthiest thing. I also took the sale of my house and I bought something much smaller in a different location. As you say, it was the most cathartic, fabulous thing ever. And then he got very ill and died very fast with a stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
Oh.
And ironically, the day that I laid with him in hospice and he passed, his daughter talked to her every day. She so accounted and was so sorry and so sad that whole ugliness even transpired, right? But it had to. So after he passed, every time I took another, year off to work on me and, do the work that it takes to grieve and all of that. And so as the girls get older, and still the communication, in my opinion, which is the most important thing, still stays open, I think it gets a little easier because they see that they're still safe. They're still number one. They're the priority and loved, right? So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's something.
And that their dad and I have become, right? For the first few years, they all go MIA. They all do the whole, pop in and out. And it's very difficult for most men to really stick with it 50-50 and be very present and co-parent, together. But I think that the relationship eventually that they saw with their dad and I and his relationships, fortunately for them, none of his women had kids, right? So.
Well, I do think it makes it more complicated when there's, blended families.
So, right.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of like, it's just a very blended with the ex and the kids and his woman and partner and mine. And now they're 25 and 29. And I think that it's something that they've had to work on and learn how to be their best self too during it all.
Like you, I really made sure that my girls were the priority. That was very, very important to me. I grew up with a single mom, and my mother had the opposite view. My mother had really, love you, Mom, but she was very open about dating, and I met a gazillion guys in my childhood. She didn't marry my stepfather until I was nearly 10. So from 0 to 10, I went through lots and lots and lots of guys, and I just really didn't want my kids to have that same experience. So dating was a huge challenge for many reasons. First of all, I had to decide, do I want to pay $12 an hour to go out with this guy? maybe, maybe not.
Right.
So I would say my romantic life was not blossoming during my single days until later on. How about you?
I'm actually with you on that one. For the last 15 years, I dated here and there just for the sake of, I don't know, kind of sanity-wise, helps you a little bit, but I never brought anyone home because I know relationship is very needy almost, but like to her, whether do I want to spend money on going out, rather spend it on my kid, but at the same time, the bigger part for me is that my daughter needed me to be a mom.
Cry?
It's okay. Can I grab a tissue? Thanks.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
She needed me to be the dad and family because we don't have a family around. So, I mean, so dating-wise, I'm just starting to date now because now she's 15. She approves it. She's okay with it for a long time. She didn't want me to date. She was very vocal about it. So I would somehow date here and there, just people from work, just to go out, but never brought anyone home, because like you said, I know a lot of people that they would go out on dates, and I don't judge them. You do you, right? But they take their kids with them, and then my daughter would tell me some of her friends that they would say, oh, my mom brought this guy. They're not happy with it. Like the kids would share to my daughter that so-and-so's mom or so-and-so's dad introducing them to this woman or man that they don't like or that they're not ready for. So I think kind of like I focus on the fact what's important to my kid. I have a lot of friends, community. I just keep myself busy with her, especially when they're little. You're driving everywhere to practice, all these things that they do. So I never really date. So
It's so selfless of you and wonderful. And
so like I said, I'm just starting just now because now my daughter's old enough to do her own thing, and I never really like to blend in until I know it's ready. Yeah. Right, both relationship, because my daughter is very emotional, she gets attached easily, and I don't want her to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So like like I mentioned before, I did not want to, date and bring, guys in and out, but I did meet someone at work eventually, several years later. I want to say maybe 3 or 4 years later, maybe the girls were 6, 7 at this time. And he's a great guy, but it's hard to do that. It's hard to integrate someone else into their lives. So it wasn't.
Did that last when you did that? You said you tried to.
We tried to.
And then what happened?
The attachment, when you said that, my daughters got very attached to him. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. It did not work out. And after that did not work out, I became even more protective and more guarded.
Sure.
Yeah.
And really, I don't think that there was I didn't have a serious boyfriend after that.
Because I think the way I see it, and I don't know if I'm sure everybody can agree, is like it's already hard enough for us parents to handle all these emotions, worrying ourselves, other people, and then on top of that, our kids, right? And it's hard for them to understand the situation.
Sure. It's like a breakup for them. We're all breaking up.
And it's not fair.
100%.